Alrighty, so News of the Week episode on this Wednesday evening, and let's jump straight into it because we got a lot of signings and transfer rumors that has happened this past week. Some blockbuster signing as well. Though the first two signing is just kind of me quickly mentioning this deal because we already knew these two deal was going to complete, but this is just kind of the final detail in terms of what the transfer is. And we'll start by talking about Austin FC, of course going to sign Brandon Vazquez as a designated player on a club record transfer fee. That is now apparently the report club record transfer fee is going to be $10 million. Now that's a lot of money, but obviously with the quality that Brandon Vazquez can bring to Austin, especially if he can look like the same player that he was with FC Cincinnati, he's going to be a guy that is going to be very useful for this Los Verde team, and maybe even could be in running for the Golden Boot as well. They also trade 100,000 general allocation money to the Quake for the top allocation order. So obviously, with the way that for a team to try to get a player that used to play in MLS and come back to the league, they have to be in the top allocation order. The Quakes actually owns that spot as well, which is kind of the reason why did the Quakes decide not to use that as an advantage to bring Brandon Vazquez, especially the fact that there's been a rumor that was the case. Though again, when you have a guy like John Fisher as your owner, I think that kind of explain it because I don't think the Quakes are going to be ready to spend $10 million like what Austin FC has been done. But yeah, it's a very ambitious signing, and certainly Los Verdes fans are very excited about this. I mean, Austin has done a really good job this offseason in terms of adding their team and expect them to be competitive next season again with the pieces. Seems like it's falling into place again for this Los Verdes team. And then the Seattle Sounders, of course, they have officially acquired Jesus Ferreira in exchange for Leo Chu, $2.3 million general allocation money, an international spot, and some sell-on fee. Now, obviously, that's definitely a lot for the Sounders to give up in order to just get a single player. And when I talk about Jesus Ferreira in the moving forward series about FC Dallas, I mentioned the disappointment that he has. Well, part of that is because he was kind of injured for part of last season, and not to mention him not really playing in his natural position in his number 9 spot. That's why the goal scoring productivity really went down compared to when he had that breakout year just a couple of seasons ago. Now, with the Sounders getting him, do they decide to put him in a number 9 spot? I think so. I mean, I know Jordan Morris currently owns that spot, but if you put Jesus Ferreira in the correct position in his natural spot, he's going to be a guy that can score the goals for you. If you don't put him in a natural position, I mean, he can still be productive, but not as productive if he is playing as a number 9. But we'll see what Brian Schmetzer will do with this signing. But again, it's a big fee that they of course pay. They really hope that he can be like the guy he was just a couple of years ago. But for Dallas, I know they do give up a player that they were really keen to keep so that they can sell him off for a big amount of money, similar to what we saw with Ricardo Pepi. But they still got a good chunk of return. I mean, getting the likes of Leo Chu going to a new club, maybe a change of scenery to that he can finally fulfill his potential. $2.3 million general allocation money, which is one of the most expensive general allocation money that is exchanged in the league. And then international spot and some sell-on fee as well, where if Jesus Ferreira does decide to move on to another team, at least Dallas does get a bit of that amount as well as part of the sell-on fees. Now, San Diego, they continue to build their roster, and they have recently now acquired Emmanuel Boateng from the New England Revolution for 200,000 general allocation money. Now I know I'm gonna always make the jokes whenever New England decided to sell a player to another team, but the joke obviously is the fact that I'm surprised Emmanuel Boateng did not go to the San Jose Earthquakes. With the way that the Quakes and the Revolution has been kind of trading player left and right, I thought this was gonna be the case again, but no. Instead, San Diego is the team to get Ema Boateng, and he's been a very good utility piece player. I always love him as well as a depth piece, and 200,000 general allocation money for a decent utility piece is definitely a good signing. Though again, we'll see whether or not if maybe he might not be just used as a utility piece. Maybe he could be on the verge of being a starter when he joined a new team like San Diego. But for New England, not only shred some more of the contract that they have off the books, but not to mention getting a good amount of general allocation money. I think they'll be very happy with this this trade as well. Now, the LA Galaxy, they have traded Jalen Neal to Montreal in exchange for 650,000 general allocation money and an international spot. Now, a couple of months ago, this deal would be unthinkable. Like, nobody would have thought that the Galaxy would decided to trade Jalen Neal, who was a regular starter for them at the center back role. But then the injuries happened, and yeah, he kind of lost his spot to Garces, who kind of came out of nowhere and really become a star player for that Galaxy back line. So with the way that Jalen Neal, he is definitely a guy that I think could have a lot of potential to be a star center back in this league. With him not getting as much minutes, I don't think that's going to really help his development. I mean, as a young player, you want to get as much minute as possible. Going to Montreal is definitely going to help the case. I think he's going to be a regular starter, and especially Montreal desperately needs some defensive help as well. They've been one of the worst defensive team in the last couple of years. I think this is a good deal for both of these teams, and the Galaxy getting a huge amount of money as well. I mean, 650,000 K for a defender. That is not a cheap price whatsoever. But Montreal will really hope that Jalen Neal would be the guy to really solidify the defense. And for the Galaxy, it's a bitter sweet pill to swallow, considering he's actually also a true homegrown for this Galaxy side. The Galaxy have not produced a lot a good true homegrown player in the team, which is kind of crazy to say because LA should be an area that has one of the richest talented pool in the country. But yeah, overall, I think this is a good deal for both of these team, and we'll see how this of course would go out. Speaking of Montreal, they also acquired Tomo Veroni in exchange for 50,000 general allocation money to the New England Revolution. Now, this is again similar to what I said about New England getting rid of Emil Boateng, though in some way this is even a more extreme cases of them shredding the contract and finally end that discussion of whether or not if they're going to keep Veroni or not. I mean, this has been a discussion for me for about a season and two now whether or not they're going to keep him. He's been a really massive disappointment for New England ever since he come to the club. And now him going to a new team, maybe a change of scenery to get himself fulfill his potential. I mean, I will say that Veroni last season he didn't really do that badly when you look at the stats that he has. He did score some goal, definitely not the amount that I would say that is classified as a DP kind of player. But Montreal, it feels like they're happy to take that contract, and not to mention they need a replacement for Joseph Martinez as well, and Veroni could potentially be that player. But again, it's all about whether or not if he can continue that production and maybe even be even better in terms of contributing that production that he didn't do during his time with New England. Now that he's going to be going to a new team. Now, Nashville, they have signed former FC Dallas and Portland Timbers midfielder Brian Acosta. Remember him? I mean, this is a guy that feels like he's been around forever, and yet, when I check his age, I think he's only 31 years old, which is kind of quite crazy to say. But yeah, he's definitely a bit of a utility piece, and again, in some ways, kind of almost a forgotten man as well. I mean, when he went back to, I think he was playing with Real Espan. Yeah, right now, it looks like he was going to probably be staying there in his native country. I didn't think he was going to come back to MLS. But alas, it seems like it is going to be the case. And again, he's a good utility kind of piece of player. Definitely not a regular starter, and I don't think Nashville was planning to do so. They're definitely going to use him more as a depth piece. And then speaking of depth piece, Columbus Crew have signed Lassie Lapanainen off a free agency. So this is not a big surprise consider again, this is another move that Wilfred Nancy is trying to bring as much of his former Montreal player as possible to the Columbus Crew. Lassie Lapanainen has been a guy that, he's also kind of been a very big what if kind of guy because, he is a very talented player and a very speedy player on the wing as well. That is if he can stay healthy. That is, and that's been the problem throughout his time with Montreal. So we'll see whether or not if he can do so with Columbus, and especially Wilfred Nancy has done a really good job in terms of bringing some of his former player to come to Columbus and develop them to be a decent player. We'll see whether or not if he can do so with Lassie Lapanainen. Though I doubt he's going to be a regular starter. He's probably going to be a guy that's going to be coming off the bench and really kind of terrorize defense that have already tired because with his pace he's going to definitely have a chance to do that. Now, the Chicago Fire, they have signed Philip Zinkenagel from Club Brugge. Now, I probably have just completely butchered that name, but even though they said that he's coming from Club Bruges. He's actually on loan with Norwegian club Bodo, and he's a guy that I actually saw a video of him scoring a goal against Manchester United in the Europa League. So yeah, he's definitely a guy that can be a goal scorer as well. And when you score a goal against Man U, that's definitely going to be a highlight reel, as it seems like the Fire we're trying to put out there. But yeah, this is clearly a replacement for Gaston Jimenez, and again, this is why when they decided to get rid of some of these bad contract like Shaqiri, like Gaston Jimenez, that's a huge relief for Fire fans because they were part of the signing from the old regime that just really kind of at times looked like was going to set this team back. Uh, in the next couple of seasons. But hopefully, they hope that he's going to be a guy that will do much better than some of their previous signings that they have. Now, I don't know if exactly if he's actually a DP kind of player. Um, when I look on it, it didn't say that he was going to be a designated player. I might be wrong though, but yeah, we'll see how he, of course, is going to do. And then the New York Red Bulls have signed Polish striker Victor, and I think it's Bogusz. It's something similar like that. I know it's not pronounced Bogusz, but it's like Bogusz something. If that's how you pronounce. Again, anytime it's a Polish name, you know it's going to be hard for me to pronounce. And the club that you join is even harder for me to pronounce. I think it's Medic. Nick. That's how you say. And it's is a club that currently play in the Polish second division. And this signing feel like it's a very brand Red Bulls kind of signing. The Red Bulls, one of the things that frustrates their fans is that they sign players that they never players that they never heard about from clubs that they never heard, and sometimes that of course can work out. You can definitely find some hidden gems as well, even in the lower league, like in a league like Poland. But still, again, we'll see whether or not if this signing would turn out to be well. This is clearly a replacement of Elias Manuel. I mean, one of the things that I think the reason why the Red Bulls eventually move on from Elias Manuel is they kind of got frustrated in terms of his finishing. He was a very speedy and dynamic kind of player. The fact that he could not put the ball into the back of the net, that must have kind of drive Red Bulls fan crazy, and they're hoping this guy will not be a second coming of Elias Manuel this season. And then the New England Revolution, they have signed Ugandan midfielder Alan we have Worth, I think that's how you pronounce. Now, this is a guy that is another player that I have never heard about, but knowing that he is a Ugandan international, and we have seen players that have come into this league come from teams that are not considered or come from country that's not considered power soccer kind of culture. They still turns out to be a decent player, and we'll see whether or not if this, of course, is the case for the New England Revolution. Now, the Colorado Rapids, they have signed Sam Bassett as a homegrown player. Now, normally I don't mention homegrown signing in the News of the Week episode, but I want to mention this because he is indeed the brother of Cole Bassett, and that's another list in terms of the numerous brothers kind of combination that we have seen in the league. It's hard to believe, but MLS must be the league that is leading in terms of teams that currently have brothers that play in the same team. Like no other leagues in the top four professional league in the U.S. and even some of the big European leagues that we see this many teams seeing have brother uh, tandem in a single team. But yeah, add the Bassett brother as the latest brother tantrum that we see that play in the same team, and we'll see whether or not. I can't wait to see to say looks like Cole Bassett has scored from his brother Sam Bassett in a goal because that always love to see a brother goal scoring and assist kind of combination as we've seen times in this league as well. Now, moving on, talking about players that is actually moving on from their MLS club and going somewhere else. And we start off with Alan Polito. He is going to be going back to Chivas from Sporting KC. Now, this is definitely a sign of Sporting KC really started to dismantle some of their key core piece player. There's been a lot of rumor that Johnny Russell could be moving on from Sporting KC as well, especially early on. I've heard there's rumor that he was going to be going to LAFC, but one piece of the main core attacking core for Sporting KC that is moving on is Alan Polito, and Alan Polito really has been really for me considered to be the biggest what if kind of player. He's a guy that when he is able to stay healthy, he has been a dynamic player. Even that one season where he was able to stay healthy, he scored 15 plus goals. But notice how I say if he can stay healthy. He has not been able to stay healthy for most of the time, and again, if he can stay healthy, he would have been considered to be easily the top five best number nine in this league, and easily the one of the most dangerous weapon for the Sporting case side over the year. But alas, with the way that this season, his number definitely took a bit of a dip, and it's not a surprise considering when he suffered so many injuries throughout his career, and that he's kind of on the wrong end of 30s. You knew that Sporting Casey might think about moving on from him, and yeah, with him going back to Chivas is a good reunion as well. Chivas fan really love him, especially the heroics that he played during the time when Chivas won the CONCACAF Champions League a couple of years back. But overall, one thing I will say about Alan Polito, and as a Quakes fan, it is still kind of a bitter pill to swill, the fact that the Quakes couldn't get him a couple of years. Remember when the Quakes had Mateus Almeida? This was one of the player that they were heavily linked, and it looks like that deal was gonna done only for Sporting KC to hijack that deal, and yeah, that move really kind of really hurt the Quakes, because if the Quakes have a player like Alan Polito, I think the Quakes would have been even much better than the numerous Chivas kind of player that was with that team. I mean, there was a lot of Chivas player for the Quakes, but there were mostly kind of bad Chivas player that was with the Quakes, and it's no surprise that they didn't really do much under the helm of Mateus Almeida. Now, LAFC, they have transferred Omar Campos to Cruz Azul. Now, this is a bit of a surprising one, and in one that I'm kind of scratching my head why they decided to make this move. Considering one, the amount that they sold was only like $4 million, which is less than they, of course, got when they signed him in the first place. But two, he's a guy that is a very talented player, and I know that he is going to be a guy that doesn't get a lot of minutes, because when you're in a team that is very stacked in terms of the roster like LAFC is, it's going to be hard for them to try to get some of their youngsters some minutes. But still, I'm surprised that they decided to kind of move on from him. My only thing I can think of is that he wants minutes. That is, then this again similar to the Jalen Neal situation, maybe going to a team that wants minutes. So that's the kind of the reason why LAFC decide to get rid of him. But again, I feel like they probably let go of him a little bit too soon. And unless if there's any sell on fees that is added on in terms of this deal, I don't think this is a good move for LAFC to give up on a really highly talented player that they could easily use him in the future, and also maybe sell off for a huge amount of money as well. Now, Charlotte FC, they have transferred Yuri Urnan to Swedish Cup IEK. Now, this one kind of makes more sense because he's a player that, was a regular starter for the Charlotte team, but unfortunately kind of fell down the pecking order, especially once Tim Ream joined this team. And knowing the fact that I think you also currently have a big contract, and takes up a bit of a cap space that Charlotte has had, there's no way Charlotte is going to basically keep him as a bench warmer for the contract that they of course had. So yeah, obviously this is in some way a shit some of the contract kind of move that Charlotte is doing, but also I'm pretty sure Yuri Unan probably is not very happy. The fact that he was a regular starter for this team, a big contributor with this team, and he kind of lost his position because Team Reem was solidify that spot, and pretty much solidify that spot throughout the rest of the season. Now, moving on to talk about some transfer rumors that has happened in this past week, because there were definitely some big transfer rumor, and we're gonna start with San Diego FC again. So yeah, remember a couple of months ago that they were looking to trying to get Kevin De Bruyne. Now, for the past couple of months, it seems like that wasn't gonna happen, and it was out of nowhere. These last couple of days, it looks like the rumor of them getting Kevin De Bruyne is gonna be a reality. Again, in fact, they're saying that they're actually really close to reach an agreement to bring Kevin De Bruyne from Man City to San Diego. Now, if Kevin De Bruyne does come to this team, I'm assuming Chucky Lozano is going to be playing on the wing spot, because Kevin De Bruyne is definitely a natural number 10, and considered to be one of the best number 10 we have ever seen in world football. And that, I know some might also say, well, this is another example of a big name player probably going to come to MLS to just sell tickets and put butts in the seats, and they don't really contribute too much. I don't think so. I think the difference between what we saw with both Olivier Giroud and Marco Reus joining the two LA team is that they were already joining a team that was very stacked when it comes to their roster, and they didn't really make too much impact as a result. With him coming into San Diego, that is Kevin De Bruyne. He's coming to a team that is an expansion team, and that they need a star player on the team that can really pull the string and be a match winner. And for many people that don't know, even though I know Kevin De Bruyne has suffered some injury setback, he can still be a player that could be on the top of the game. In fact, Man City can still probably keep him for another 2 or 3 years, and he can still be at the top of his game as well. So if this move does complete, this is a huge move for San Diego, and a move that will really help their chances in their expansion season, because so far most of the move that San Diego has made, I mean, there's a lot of question mark about this team. The only real playmaker and the real difference maker on this team I can think is Chucky Lozano, and I don't think it's enough for him to really be a team that could consider to be a playoff contender if they only have Chucky Lozano. But bringing the likes of Kevin De Bruyne will definitely help. Maybe also another DP number 9 as well will help their cause as well, and also not to mention also bring some big name to an MLS team, because the likes of Kevin De Bruyne coming to MLS and considered to be one of the best number 10 in the world for his career, that is definitely going to add to the more star-studded player that comes to MLS. But unfortunately, also doesn't really help the narrative of the fact that MLS continued to be a retirement league. Now, Boca Junior, they have actually made a $10 million bid for FC Dallas player Alan Velasco. Now, this is a very difficult decision that Dallas has to make, because Alan Velasco, it is pretty clear that he hasn't really been the same ever since he suffered that torn ACL injury. But you just kind of hope that maybe eventually he could, heading into this season as well. But at the same time, when you get a 7 figure bid to trying to get your own player to sell off to a big team like Boca Junior, yeah, that's a very hard offer to relinquish. And again, this is where the decision has to make for Dallas, that if they take that offer, they can maybe reinvest it in the future, but they do lose a key player like Alan Blasco that could really help their attack heading into next season, and was really a difference maker when he had that breakout second season for this Dallas team. But on the other hand, you also want to keep him, but are you going to get the same offer? And not to mention, is he going to be still going to be the same player that he was in his second season? So this is a big decision that Dallas will make, and we'll see whether or not, if they do decided to cash in, despite the fact that he is a player that is just so important to this Dallas team, and we kind of saw part of that last season, how they do really miss the likes of Alan Blasco at time last season. I even mentioned, when you have a Velasco and and Pedro Musa kind of combination, boy, that's going to be a deadly combination that Dallas could have heading into next season. Now, moving on to the next news. So, Liga MX Club is rumored to sign Houston Dynamo number 10 Coco Carrasquilla. So, yeah, it didn't take that long for me to see a rumor in terms of a team looking to trying to get Coco Carrasquilla. Remember, I said in the Moving Forward series episode, it feels like it's going to be a matter of time before Coco Carrasquilla is going to be sell off for a big amount of money. Now, him going to a Liga MX club, they didn't mention which Liga MX club that is, but I'm assuming it's probably going to be a lot of money. And again, just like what I said about Dallas, the Dynamo will definitely have a big decision to make, because on one hand, you eventually will have to sell Coco Carrasquilla. He is a player that bringing big amount of money, though. Again, going to selling him to a Liga MX club, I'm not sure if that might be the team that league that they want to sell their star player to. But it's not the first time that has happened, because again, it feels like we have seen more transaction between MLS and Liga MX club in the last couple of years as well. But if the offer is definitely right, there's no doubt the Dynamo is going to listen to, and they might even think about already finding a replacement for Coco Carrasquilla sooner than I thought they would be. I've said in the Moving Forward series they have to do so probably starting this summer. It could be as soon as this winter transfer window if they do eventually move on from him. Now, there is also reports suggesting that Miguel Almiron will not come to MLS and join Charlotte FC. Now, this is also just a couple of weeks I mentioned how there's a report that he is going to be come Charlotte, that is Miguel Almiron. Basically, there's been conflict of sorts whether or not if Charlotte is going to get him. I think this could all depends on well, actually no. I think when we saw Charlotte decide to keep Pep Biel, maybe this is why they decided to no longer interest in Miguel Almiron, because again they play in the same spot as well, and they believe Pep Biel can have another decent season heading into the next year as well. That's why they're not going after Miguel Almiron. And not to mention, Miguel Almiron, while he did really well doing his time with Atlanta, he has not really looked like the same player ever since he joined Newcastle. And again, this is a bit of a risk when you decide to bring a player that was really decent with a team a couple of years back, but hasn't really quite hit the same height the last couple of years. Will that, of course, all work out? But either way, should be interesting to see whether or not indeed we're going to see Miguel Almiron coming back to MLS. And if he is going to come back to MLS, I mean, it just feels like Atlanta has to make this move, right? I mean, the reunite with Miguel Almiron, not only it will be like a throwback kind of move for Atlanta fans to enjoy, but definitely a move that will be very popularized with Atlanta United fans. What he did during his time with Atlanta alongside with Joseph Martinez, though those were some of the funnest time that Atlanta United fans have enjoyed, and I feel like it would kind of make perfect sense for Almiron to come back to Atlanta, similar to what I said about Joseph coming back to Atlanta as well. Though that seems like it's not going to be a reality. It looks like Joseph might be going to not actually a club in MLS, but going to another league as well. Now, speaking of conflicted source, there's also conflicted source that the Vancouver Whitecaps is not targeting David Wagner as their new head coach. Now, the Whitecaps have also mentioned that starting next week they could have free candidate that is going to replace Vanni Sartini in his role. And David Wagner, for a while I was thinking that he was going to be coming to MLS, considering all this time doing his time in Europe, and he started to be a promising kind of head coach, especially what he did with Schalke and also with Huddersfield Town. But yeah, his reputation has kind of taken a bit of a dip. He hasn't really done so well with some of the team that he's bringing. So I don't know if that might be a right fit for the Whitecaps. That is, but again, there's no doubt that they're going to be announcing some candidate, and that they might be looking to get their new head coach sooner than later. And it makes sense because they want to get one soon. They do not want to have the same situation that Minnesota did last season, where they waited so long before finally hiring Eric Ramsey as their new head coach. Now, going back to some transfer rumors, the San Jose Earthquakes is set to sell goalkeeper Imi Ochoa to Cruz Azul. Now, I'm kind of very disappointed to see that this move to have, mainly because I really think Imi Ochoa hasn't really got a fair amount of minutes with the Quakes. I know he's still relatively young, but I feel like he probably could have got more minutes, especially with the way that if the Quakes eventually move on from Danielle, and if you continue to put Ochoa to play for the Quakes in the MLS next pro league, I think eventually if he does well enough that maybe they might he might be a starter. And not to mention Danielle has been injury prone. You would definitely want to keep him as a good backup option as well, but it doesn't seem like that is the case. I can also understand that he wants to get some more minutes as well. Going to Cruz Azul, I'm not sure if that might be a team that he get more minutes, considering they have been a decent league at Mekki's team as well. But nevertheless, if the it feels like if the amount is definitely there, the Quakes have no problem in terms of sell their young talented league at Mekki's. I mean, heck, they already did it with K Cal as well to Chivas. Seems like that's going to be the same case with Emi Ochoa. And then Nashville, they are set to sign former DC United defender Andy Nahar as well. So again, this is a bit of a throwback as well, because Andy Nahar, we remember how good he was with DC United. Seems like Nashville is looking to try to bring him back. I think he's been spending his Andy Nahar has been spending his time in Europe as well. Didn't He kind of had some mixed kind of resort as well, but now it seems like he's going to come back to MLS. And I also say that I think this is might be a replacement for Shaq Moore as well, because with them getting rid of Shaq Moore, finally getting rid of a big contract as well. I think they definitely need a replacement, and Andy Nahan might be a good replacement for that. And then Hull City is also looked too close to sign Matt Crooks from RSL. Now this is kind of interesting because Matt Crooks were part of a lot of the these players that RSL, of course, signed during the summer after they got the money from the sale of Andres Gomez. Now, obviously, his performance has been relatively mixed, and in fact, most of the signings that RSL has got over the summer transfer window, none of them really kind of really hit well. And I know it's easy for RSL to maybe think about moving on from some of these players, as it seems like they might be thinking about that with Matt Crooks as well. Again, we talk about how sometimes teams need to be patient in terms of some of their new signing, especially some of these new signing. They're not going to be an impact player. It's going to take a while for them to really hit. And they were definitely signing that Matt Crooks could be a decent player, especially a decent playmaker as well. So the fact that they already kind of give up on him, I mean, I don't know if RSL fans are that happy about it, but again, if the offer is definitely right from Hull City, I think they might be moving on from him as well. And then finally, the last news in terms of transfer rumor involving Inter Miami report to reach an agreement to sign center back Gonzalo Layan from San Lorenzo. And again, it's an Argentine center back, which means that kind of makes sense considering that it feels like Inter Miami continue to bring in Argentine player because of the what player is currently in their team, and also they're it's basically Inter Miami is trying to clone a Barcelona kind of team with a lot of Argentine player because of the greatest player of all time being there as well. But he's going to be a guy that I think Inter Miami been circling around. Consider again, center back help is a big need for this Inter Miami team. I've talked about many times how while they're really stacked on the attack, the biggest Achilles heel for this team is on the defensive side. If they can fix that heading into next season, they're easily the favorites to win MLS Cup next year. And then lastly, a news that is not related to transfer rumors and signings. So there's a rumor saying that a Puerto Rican team is looking to come to USL as soon as 2026, and I'm actually excited about this because I remember when the NASL was still in effect. There was a Puerto Rican team there. I think it was Puerto Rican Islander FC, if I remember the full name. Now that club, it seems like it's not going to be coming back anytime soon, and this is just a complete different team that is going to the USL. But I don't mind that. I mean, I think it's exciting to see a Puerto Rican team in the USL as well. In fact, speaking of team on the island, I really wish we can see a Hawaiian team in the USL in the near future as well. Now, obviously, that maybe will not happen because the legislation. It's going to be an absolute nightmare to have a Hawaiian team there as well. But I mean, I would definitely love to see that. In fact, let's just also add an Alaskan team as a USL team as well. Let's just add the crazy idea of seeing these teams not in the contiguous 48 states in the US to potentially have a professional soccer team in the USL, because the USL has been very ambitious in terms of some of the expansion that they had in the past couple of years. And again, seeing a Puerto Rican team, I think that would make a lot of sense if it, of course, could happen. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of this News of the Week episode. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these news of the week. And as always, let me know in the comments below if there's any news I didn't mention here on the board. I'm pretty sure there was plenty, because by the time I finish this video, probably there's already a couple of transfer signings and rumors that has happened. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button. And yeah, I, of course, will see you guys next time.